Debunking the myth of the anti-trans lesbian. With the rise of the anti-gender movement, claims to protecting lesbians from trans women and preserving women's only spaces as trans-exclusive continue. Even J.K. Rowling takes part in this, stepping forward to quote-unquote protect lesbians. But in reality, according to a survey of more than 3,500 people in the UK by Just Like Us, lesbians are the most likely to be supportive or very supportive of trans people. In fact, 96% are, as compared to 89% in support when looking at the wider LGBTQ+ community, and 69% for everyone else. Not to mention that the belief that lesbians are anti-trans conveniently ignores the fact that lesbians can themselves be trans, whether as trans women or non-binary people. And these trans lesbians, of course, have other lesbian lovers. So where did this myth actually start? It goes back to second-wave feminism in the 1960s and 70s. This movement was more radical than its first-wave predecessor. It sparked theoretical debates around gender and even led to the rise of very prominent feminist separatist movements. Movements that weren't always trans-inclusive. In 1973, at the West Coast Lesbian Feminist Conference in the US, Beth Elliott, a trans lesbian folk singer and activist, was ridiculed off stage. And in 1979, Janice Raymond, a prominent lesbian and radical feminist, published her book, Transsexual Empire: The Making of the She-Male. This work uses much of the same language still found in modern anti-gender and anti-trans movements, pointing to its importance. These were just early flashpoints, but their connection to high-profile lesbians, like Raymond, or events, seem to have taken hold. So now that the anti-gender movement and what is commonly known as TERFs, or trans-exclusionary radical feminists, are taking root, these narratives are given new life. But the thing is that only a small faction of lesbians were trans-exclusive. And, as I mentioned before, lesbians are actually the biggest group of trans allies, and many trans people are themselves lesbians. This is not new. Even in the 70s, as debates over inclusion of trans women in women's only spaces raged on, there were trans lesbians weighing in. There's Sandy Stone, who's considered the founder of transgender studies, Beth Elliott, the aforementioned folk singer, Leslie Feinberg, an anti-racist white, working-class, secular, Jewish, transgender, lesbian, female, revolutionary communist, and the author of Stone Butch Blues, and even Sylvia Rivera, the infamous accomplice to Marsha P. Johnson at the Stonewall riots, was a bit queer herself and dated women. The amount of crossover between lesbian communities and trans communities and the two movements is hard to understate. So for this week of Lesbian Visibility, we're celebrating the trans lesbians and the allies in each community who have helped support and uplift the other. Happy week of Lesbian Visibility.